And as these coalition talks continue, the political opposition to any government headed by Netanyahu, with or without Benny Gantz, is speaking up, including in a protest rally tonight in Tel Aviv's Rabin Square. And our senior correspondent, Owen Alterman, is there. And I hope those people are maintaining some kind of social distance, Owen. The protests are allowed. But what is the message they're conveying to this evening?
Well, Kalev, one of the messages is, of course, to maintain distance. There are actually, you can maybe see around us, there are actually chalk X's drawn into the square, and organizers have asked those coming here to protest to stand on those X's to maintain distance, we should say, partly for that reason. The police actually closed off the nearby Ibn Gvirol Street because the police said the Rabin Square was full. But the message here is very clear. They want legislation against allowing Benjamin Netanyahu to continue to serve as prime minister, saying that because of his indictment, he should be deemed as unfit to serve. Behind me at the podium right now is none other than Yair Lapid, the head of the Yesh Atid party. Frankly, Kalev, at this point, the de facto opposition leader in the country. Early on in the speech, leading a chant of the protesters, "We will not allow, we will not allow," and taking aim, although not naming him, at Benny Gantz, saying, "You are saying you will fight from within the government. If you are inside, then you have already given up." Lapid also making reference to those countries around the world, as he put it, democracies that have died in the 21st century from the inside. They still have parliaments up on the Hill. They still have the bands and the orchestras. They still have the trappings of democracy, Lapid said, but they don't have the substance of democracy, making a reference, Kalev, to what Lapid believes is happening here in Israel as well.
And Owen, even with these public restrictions, this was not the only protest taking place today. There was one earlier, but that was more of an economic than a political demonstration.
It sure was, Kalev. It was a protest by the self-employed here in Israel. Of course, this is Startup Nation, and we tend to think of that as surrounding Israel's high-tech sector. But of course, as in all countries, Israel has a large entrepreneurial class of small and medium-sized businesses. And Kalev, here, as in so many parts of the world, those businesses have just been crushed by the restrictions in the coronavirus era. A smaller protest there in Jerusalem, but a much more emotional one. People whose livelihoods have just been taken away from them in an instant say that the government's rescue plan is not swift enough, does not offer enough support, does not offer support to enough people, is too restrictive, is too bureaucratic, is too slow, and they want more government assistance much quicker. Kalev, we can only hope that with the beginning of the lifting of the lockdown restrictions from today, with the opening of many small businesses, although certainly not all, that at least some of those people will be helped, although of course there are still entire sectors that are still barred from operating because of coronavirus restrictions, and hope that those people get the treatment that they feel they deserve, both from the government, from the society, and of course, that the course of the pandemic will allow their businesses to reopen as well.
Well, right, Owen, and if those economic concerns are not addressed, that could be a real political headache for whatever type of government is formed, or even more so if Israel should go to elections, as unbelievable as that sounds, later on this year, which unfortunately is surely possible. Owen Alterman there in Rabin Square, thank you for that.